Good afternoon. Welcome to part 5 of our international webinar series titled Gandhi's Legacies, Reflections, and Reappraisals. We deem it a privilege to have as our speaker for today's session Dr. Nishikant Kolge, Associate Professor, Center for the Study of Developing Societies, Delhi. I welcome Dr. Kolge. Dr. Kolge has several scholarly achievements to his credit. He's been a professor of history at Tripura University before joining CSDS. He's most recently the author of a book titled Gandhi Against Caste. It's as a work of scholarship, it's a crucial intervention in a field which is debated, a field which is known for a lot of contestations. What were Gandhi's views on the matter? What did Gandhi think of something like caste? What did Gandhi think of social inequality? What were his views on the Varna system, on the caste system? Did he support the caste? There are several contesting views, and there have been a lot of controversies lately regarding his views. Uh, Professor Kolge's book is important because it throws light on this topic from a very concrete historical perspective using a wide range of archival sources. He lends a new level of clarity to this topic, and he has very kindly agreed to speak today. And his talk for today is titled "Was Gandhi, quote unquote, a champion of the caste system? Reflection on his practices." So I won't take much time, and I once again welcome Dr. Kolge. The stage is yours, sir. The talk will be followed by Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashwat, for this kind invitation. Um, uh, I, it's an honor and privilege to be here to speak on my favorite subject on Gandhi's view on caste. As Shashwat informed us that my talk is titled as "Was Gandhi a quote unquote champion of the caste system? Reflection on his practice." So what I'm going to do, I'm going to speak actually. My talk is divided broadly into three sections. First section, I will look at Gandhi's practice related to the different caste restriction. How did he practice those restrictions which were prevalent during his time? And second, I will keep at his ashram how the human life was organized in his ashram, because his life can be seen as an extension of his own practice and based on his philosophy. And third, if some time permit, I would also like to look at the work of those scholars, engage with work of those scholars who have worked on Gandhi's views on caste and have given a different justification why Gandhi believed in caste system, and find out what may be the possible ways to look at what is the what on the position of Gandhi on caste. Before that, to start in this three section, I just want to make an introductory remark that when we look at the existing literature on Gandhi's view on caste, as Shashank rightly informed us that there are contesting views, and there are several scholars who very seriously work on it and have a different opinion on it. If we can divide this work of different scholars into broadly two groups, avoiding some variations. That one group of scholars who believe that Gandhi accepted caste system in toto as the natural order of society, as a system that promote control and discipline and is sanctioned by religion. So there are first group of scholars who believe that Gandhi actually believed in caste system in toto, and for him it was a natural order of organizing society which promote control and sanction of religion. But there are other group of scholars who believe that Gandhi's view on caste evolved over a period of times. So they also agreed with the first group that initial for the need when he returned from South Africa in 1950, that Gandhi believed in the caste system, but gradually interaction with the other scholars, pressure from his peer groups, and he learned several new things, and he evolved his views over a period of time, and radically shifted his position on many of the important aspects of the caste system. So this is he evolved over a period of time. His opinion on caste and related issues evolved over a period of time. What is my argument and contribution? I said these views of the most of these scholars, they draw their opinion on Gandhi's view on caste largely from his writing, what he has spoken and what he has written. And in this process, his practice is primarily neglected. So what I'm going to do, as I said earlier, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at his practices primarily to arrive at a conclusion whether Gandhi can be considered as a champion of caste system. Gandhi himself also said, I quote him, to understand what I say, one need to understand my conduct. And he actually suggested that his writing should be criminated with his body. But it doesn't mean that he is suggesting that his writing should not be taken seriously. What he suggested, I'm sorry, what he is suggesting that if there is a contradiction and inconsistency appeared in his writing, it should be resolved in the light of his practices. So his practice should get priority while we are trying to understand it. That is what he suggests. His writing should be taken serious, and they are the primary source for us to understand his views and philosophy. But what he's suggesting that if any contradiction or any inconsistency appear, it should be resolved in the light of his practice. So that is what we are trying to do. So first, let's see what were the common practices available during Gandhi's time related to caste. So caste, one of the common practices which were prevalent during Gandhi time was the practice of untouchability. What does it mean by untouchability? Is, is that to avoid touching or even in Malabar avoid even looking at untouchable if you were not one yourself. So in practice of suppose if you are from the upper caste, so-called upper caste, and if you happen to touch some lower caste Dalit, so you will be polluted and you have to perform some purification practices to again purify yourself. So this very common practice there were during Gandhi time and still present in some part of the village and in different parts in the cities. So if you look at Gandhi, we have I can give you several examples, but Gandhi, I just wanted to give the two major examples which he cited in his autobiography. One in his autobiography, one you can get from his writing. First, that he said that during his childhood there was a one boy called Ukka. He was scavenger. He used to come to clean his toilet at his home, and accidentally touch him, his mother will ask me to do the purification process, and he refused it or he tussled with her, though he was a very respectful child, and he never accepted that that touching someone can pollute, make you pollute or something. Right? And we have another example when he was in South Africa. There was and he was very successful lawyer, and he has a team of lot of assist. There was an assistant. Many of his staff member they used to stay night if there was lot of works. So one day, one of his Christian clerk, who was born from a Dalit parents, stayed his home, and next day Gandhi asked Mrs. Gandhi clean the chamber pot of this Christian uh, clerk. And Mrs. Gandhi refused, and Gandhi was very upset about it, and he said that you have to do it, and if you will not do, you cannot stay in my home, I will not tolerate such nonsense. And there are many examples. Actually, Gandhi also adopted one when he was in India, came back in India, he adopted a one Dalit girl. Her name was Lakshmi. She used to live with her, travel with him, and stay with him. And when he came from South Africa, actually he also brought a one Dalit boy named Nishikant to stay with them in their ashram. And there are so many ways, and even there are another kind of untouchability is practiced among Hindus. When women are during their monthly periods, they consider polluted, and they are not allowed to enter into temple and kitchen. Uh, and Gandhi never practiced such kind of untouchability also. So in one way, it's a very evident, and I can go on giving number of examples to substantiate my argument that there are the ample proof to say that from the very young age, Gandhi did not practice untouchability in any form. And if you look at the next practice related to the caste system, that is the intertwining. So it is also in Hinduism, Orthodox Hindu practice interdining. They feel they don't eat with the other caste, especially the lower in caste hierarchy, and this is also considered as a polluting. So, but Gandhi, from the very young age, when he went to England for a study, he ate with the different religious people, with different group of people. When he was in South Africa, he used to invite many Christian friends in his home. He also used to go and eat at the different Christian family. The Christian family will eat non-vegetarian food. The Gandhi will eat his vegetarian food, and he also informed us in his autobiography that at very young age he had ate non-vegetarian food with a Muslim friend. Though he comes from a very orthodox Vaishnavite family which practiced strict vegetarianism. And throughout his life, he ate with a different group of people, different religious people, group of people, individuals, and different castes, including Dalits. So he has no issue with interdining, and he was very open about it. Second practice, which is related to caste, is or the third practice is intercaste marriage. So we know from Gandhi's biography that Gandhi was instrumental in arranging the marriage of Henry Poller, a Jew, with a Scottish Christian girl. So this was an interfaith marriage, and Gandhi was a key person to arrange this marriage. And this couple, after marriage, actually the marriage was also confirmed in the court, and there was no religious rituals were performed for sanction of this marriage. And and this couple after marriage lived almost 1 year in Gandhi's own house. And when Gandhi built his first ashram, this couple also shifted with Gandhi in the ashram. And Gandhi also allowed his son Ramdas to marry someone from the different subcaste within the same Varna, but also allowed his son Devdas to marry a girl from a other Varna. So Gandhi comes from a Vaishnav caste, and his son Devdas married to a Brahmin girl. And he, by design, actually married off his daughter Lakshmi, as I said, who was a Dalit, to a Brahman boy. So he has, in at least in close circle, at different given point of time, he encouraged intercaste marriages. So from his practice related intouchability, intertwining and intercaste marriage, something that Gandhi was, and we must also remember we are talking about 150 years back. This is a story of 150 years back human being who were living in India and South Africa. Another important feature of characteristic of caste system is the heredity of occupation. It suggests that the person should follow his own parental occupation, or another way, the person, an individual who born in a particular caste should follow his own caste occupations. And it is not surprising that it is not that the first sentence of Gandhi's autobiography tells that from the last 15 years, last three generations, his family has not been following their traditional occupation. Gandhi also did not follow his traditional occupation, and also he did not impose on his children that they should follow traditional occupation. He allowed them to choose whatever profession they want to do, and moreover, actually, he learned skills as associated with the activities prohibited to his caste. So he learned work of scavenger, barber, washerman, cobbler, tiller, cleaner, and he also taught these skills to his kids, friends, and close circles, and asked, and he practiced all these skills and performed those work at his home and in his ashram. And if we also look, if we want to look at what are the other practices or beliefs an orthodox Hindu who accept the caste system as a best way of organizing society can do, is believe in the sacred books, or we can say the question of religious authority. So Gandhi, in Hinduism, generally Vedas are considered as eternal and accepted as the authority. Uh, but Gandhi never accepted Veda or Gita, or for that matter any religious book, as an ultimate authority. And he said he exercised judgment over every scripture. So I quote Gandhi here. In first quote, Gandhi says, "Early in my childhood, I had felt the need for a scripture that would serve me as an unfailing guide through the trial and temptation of life. The Vedas could not supply that need." Unquote. In another quote, Gandhi says, "I exercise my judgment about every scripture, including the Gita. I cannot let a scriptural text supersede my reason. While I believe that the principal books are inspired, they suffer from a process of double distillation. Firstly, they come through a human prophet, and then through a commentators and interpretations. Nothing in them comes from directly to God." And when he was then there, he find sorry, where do you find the seat of authority? When Gandhi was asked, and he pointed out to his chest, and he said that he has his own ways to exercise, to arrive at any judgment, though he gave the help from the different religious book, but he has own methods of arriving at truth. And if you also look at some other caste restrictions in Gandhi's practice, such as he comes, as I said, he comes from the one of the three upper caste group, and during this time, his caste group people also used to go through the ceremony and wear a sacred thread. Gandhi also went during his childhood, but later in his life he gave up. This is also one of the sign of Hindu orthodoxy, and he rejected that. He also cut his shikha, and he asked his cousin Chaganlal Gandhi, who was religiously wearing the shikhar to cut down the shikhar. And he also, in his Vaishnav family, there was a tradition of wearing the Tulsi kant, and he also gave up those Tulsi kant. So he actually rejected, or actually sign of actual orthodoxy, which are very common practice during his time. And now, if you look at his views on the temple visit and idol worship that public prayers, so these are also a very common practice which any Orthodox Hindu performed. So, but Gandhi very hardly visit any temple. He was not frequent goer. Uh, just like I will quote Gora or Grimley writes, I quote, Gandhi was not the kind of Hindu who accept the authority of priests and even attend temples. Gandhi also said about temple, I quote, being born in a Vaishnav faith, I had often go to the Haveli, that is temple, but it never appealed to me. I did not like its glitter and pomp. And also I heard rumors of immorality being practiced there and lost all interest in it. Hence I could not get nothing from the Haveli temple. So he retained his faith, though he visit now and then some temple, but for the different purposes, but not performing the puja. And the same thing, idol worship, and he never worshipped any idol in his prayer meeting. Also, we will not find any idol and the performance of the idol worship. So he did not. He was not idol worshipper. So we can see that Gandhi was neither a temple goer nor an idol worshipper. But he was. There are the two things which we can two practices. Gandhi's practices we can associate with in some ways to the caste system and practicing the caste system. One is his practice of vegetarianism, and second is his prayer. So Orthodox Hindu, I would say, prayer is not related to the caste system, but as to consider him as a Hindu. But his prayer was his own kind. So there was in his prayer meeting there was a recitation from the different religious texts. There was a recitation from the Buddhist texts, Quran, Gita, and many other from Guru Granth Sahib and other religious texts. And there were the different bhajan songs. So there was it's very different from the any other prayers which is performed in any Hindu house. And even his vegetarianism was we cannot say is a sign of Hindu orthodoxy or anything related to the caste system. Because in childhood, Gandhi writes in his autobiography that actually in his childhood he was committed non-vegetarianism. He used to believe that India became slave and British could rule over India because they are meat eater and Indian don't eat meat. And he used to believe that the Indians are weak because they don't eat meat. So he has this idea that when he will grow up, he will convert whole Indians to as a meat eater. But he was practicing vegetarian during his childhood because he promised his mother that he will not eat or he will not touch non-veg. But Gandhi says only after reading Salt book, Play of Vegetarianism, he became a committed vegetarian. Gandhi read this book when he was in London for his study, and after that, actually, he became a part of the vegetarian society and started promoting the vegetarianism. and became a very committed vegetarian. But he very specifically also said that his vegetarian has nothing to do with his religion. It is his own commitment to the principle of non-violence. So if we look at briefly all these practices, untouchability, intercaste, interdining, idol worshipping, temple visit, and wearing the sacred thread, Gandhi appears to be a reformist, if not a revolutionary. And in no way he looks like an orthodox Hindu who believe in the caste system. To extend the same argument, now we will look at Gandhi's different ashram and how his ashram were organized and there were a practice or related to the caste system, or this ashram were actually built on the basic principle of the varna and caste. Uh, to set an example of an ideal society. So, just in a brief, I just want to tell all of you that Gandhi actually built four major ashrams, two in South Africa and two in India. In South Africa, the first ashram he built in, I think, in 1904 was Phoenix Ashram. Actually, he said in his autobiography that he started this ashram because he was finding it financially difficult to run his newspaper, in their opinion, and to cut down the expenditure, he proposed that all the staff should live in a community life and follow certain principle. And so he invited all of the staff member and other his friends who believe in Gandhi, his principles of truth and non-violence, and he started this Phoenix ashram. Next, he built ashram in around 1910 in Tolstoy form. It's called Tolstoy form. It was not built on the Gandhian principles to practice the Gandhian principle. Its purpose was the different. The Tolstoy form built to home those families whose bread earning member were in prison because of participating in the satyagraha which Gandhi was running in South Africa. So their the family member were left without a bread earner. So to provide the food and shelter to those families, Gandhi actually built this second ashram, which is called Tolstoy Home. So in this ashram, the families were from the Muslim family, Christian families, Indian Christian and Indian Muslim, and the different castes. And when Gandhi came back to India in 1953, first he built Sevagram Ashram or Sabarmati Ashram, and the second in early 30s, Sevagram Ashram near Nagpur. So in these all, if you look at the life in these all four ashram, so these ashram were actually not built on the basic principle of caste or varnashram dharma. Actually, they reject all the basic principle and restrictions and practice of the caste system. So all these four ashram was not built on any principle of caste or varna. So there was a every every ashramite has to perform the manual labor. There was no division of labor. Everyone has to do every work from the rotation basis. Everyone has a duty of cleaning toilet. Everyone has a duty of cooking food and performing other works on the rotation basis. And there was a common prayer and many other. There was a common kitchen. Everyone used to eat in the same the same food cooked in the same place and served by the same people. I would also especially like to mention, as I said, in Tolstoy form, there were a family, Christian family and Muslim families. those do not have a faith in Gandhi's philosophy. They were there only because their family's breadwinner was in prison. So when Gandhi asked them to live a community life with them, he also asked them, and he shared with them that we have a limited resources, we have a limited budget, and which permit only vegetarian food. And I also, in principle, believe that we should eat vegetarian food. But you people eat non-vegetarian, so I request you, if you want to have a non-vegetarian food, even he said if you want to have a beef, that will be served to you. But Gandhi also mentioned that in Tolstoy form, no one asked for the non-vegetarian food, and only vegetarian food was served in his ashram. And untouchability was also not practiced in any form in his ashram. So his ashram actually were actually built to do experiment with the simple living, and to assign the dignity of labor. So there is no way we can say that this ashram were set or built to set an example how an ideal society on the basis of the caste and varna can be built. On the other hand, I said actually to reject all those basic principles of a caste and varna, and it believe in the equality and dignity of labor, and in the simple life, living with simplicity. So these are also some example on which we can say that Gandhi appears to be very reformist, and not as an orthodox Hindu who will believe in the caste system. So now the question arises that we find there are the very explicit sentences of Gandhi, where Gandhi very explicitly says that he believe in caste system, he believe in for division of the Hindu society. He also very explicitly says that the Hinduism was saved because of the caste system, and he appreciated different aspect of the caste system at different point of time. So now, how we can resolve this conflict? So now, for that, what I am going to do, I am going to look at how the other scholars in the secondary sources have looked at this inconsistency or contradiction in Gandhi's practice and writings, or if they have looked at it or not, or what were their justification they have cited for Gandhi's belief in caste system, that Gandhi believed in caste system, which they arrived at reading Gandhi's writing and reading Gandhi's writings. So what justification they have given? Does this justification resolve the contradiction which appeared in Gandhi's writing and practices? This is what we are going to. And I'm arguing that we should not accept their justification if they do not resolve this contradiction between Gandhi's practice and right. So if you look at, we can see that there are the group of scholars, as I said earlier, who believe that who accepted that Gandhi believed in caste system and don't. So, and now we going to look at what are the justification they provide for Gandhi believing in the caste system. So these scholars also we can divide into two groups. One Ambedkarite scholars and another Gandhian scholars who are sympathetic to the Gandhi. So Ambedkarite scholars, they believe that since Gandhi believed in the upper caste family, the so-called upper caste family, he inherited those Brahmanical values. That's why he believed in caste system. For example, I will quote scholar Braj Ranjan Mali. He writes, Gandhi was a Baniya more Brahmanized than Brahman. His worldviews and life philosophy were molded and shaped by the age-old Brahmanical values and way of life. He never gave up his basic belief in Brahmanical fundamentalism, which is evident from his constant evocation of Varnashram Dharma, Ram Rajya, and trusteeship. But when we look at his practices, it says entirely different story. So that's why um, uh, uh, such conclusions that Gandhi believed in the caste system because he was born in an upper caste and he inherited those Brahminical values. But we saw that in every stage he actually break those Brahminical values in his practices in his ashram. So it seems to be problematic. Second problem which I find in Ambedkarite scholars' work is that actually their primary focus of their study is not Gandhi and understanding the Gandhi views of caste. They actually primarily interested in to understand Ambedkar's life and contribution of Ambedkar and the Dalit movement, and they see as Gandhi as a countercultural force. So this is the frameworks they look at Gandhi. So I feel that in these way, if we look at Gandhi this way, we may not able to do proper justice to the. One more point I would like to add is that the point I'm here I'm not engaging in the overall and very powerful critique of the Ambedkarite scholars of Gandhi's movement. Only point I'm making here that if you look at their conclusion that Gandhi was a casteist man, but if we try to look at his practice, their conclusion seems to be problematic. Only this point I am trying to make it here. And when we look at the Gandhian scholars who also accepted that Gandhi believed in caste system and given different justification for this, and uh, one of the famous scholars is Margaret Chatterjee. She makes a very unorthodox and very reasonable argument, and she says, I quote her, Gandhi spoke in favor of following one's hereditary occupation. What was behind it, I believe, was his perception of the undoubted fact that industrialization would gradually erode the network of traditional occupation that had provided a livelihood for villagers for centuries. Industrial civilization would never be able to provide a livelihood for the teeming millions of Indians. So what the point she is trying to make is that Gandhi thought that hereditary occupation is the answers to the problem of industrial society. I have engaged with her argument at the different level, but we don't have a time to go in the details. But just I want to say that actually there are the several problems. Gandhi appreciated that hereditary occupation served a very good purpose in past and appreciated in many different ways, but he did not propose it as a solution to solve the problem of the industrial society. Yes, he objected and he saw industrial society with fear, but he did not propose that the hereditary occupation is the answer to solve the problem of industrial society. On the other hand, he proposed charkha, and charkha, I will not go into detail, is not a sign of hereditary occupation because he asked everyone, irrespective of caste, gender, economic status, social status, to speak. He was asking everyone. Therefore, for Gandhi, charkha is not sign of hereditary occupation; it's a sign of dignity of labor, and it is sign of decentralization of production and many other ways, but no ways it is a sign of hereditary occupation. So that's Margaret Chatterjee's justification that Gandhi proposed, believe in the hereditary occupation because it can solve the problem of the industrial society seemed to problematic because he did not do so. The second is Professor Bhiku Parekh. Just I think I have a very less time I need to do. So Professor Bhiku Parekh says that Gandhi believed in caste system because he believed in rebirth and the law of karma. That's true that Gandhi believed many times explicitly says that he believed in caste system, but his understanding and interpretation of the principle of karma is entirely different from the traditional understanding of. On the other hand, it is opposite to the actually the traditional understanding of the karma, and he rejected. So I'll give two examples. One in his ashram, there was a calf suffering from uncurable disease. Gandhi discussed with the doctor, and doctor suggested that it cannot be curable. So Gandhi allowed to inject that calf poison and let her die. So it's kind of a go hatya he did in his ashram, and there was a huge opposition from the different side, and Gandhi actually defended it, and he said that in the same circumstances he will perform the same act to a human being, which actually reject the idea of idea of karma, according to which you have to suffer whatever what, what whatever difficulties you are facing in this life because of your last past birth karma. And actually, in one place he very explicitly rejects the idea of the law of karma. He writes, I quote, Gandhi's writes, I think, the law of karma is no repostor of persons, but I would ask you to leave the orthodoxy to itself. Man is the maker of his own destiny, then I therefore ask you to become makers of your own destiny. So this idea actually that individual is a maker of his own destiny is a rejection of the law of karma. And there are several other examples by which I can argue that actually Gandhi rejected the law of karma. Therefore, Professor Parikh's argument also Gandhi believed in caste system because he believed that because of law of karma, you born with a certain quality and in a certain family which suits to your own heredity. Occupation is not, I believe, a proper justification for Gandhi's those writings in which he believed, accepted that he believed and appreciated caste system. And the third idea is with Rameshwar Roy. He said that Gandhi believed in caste system because it's because I quote, in his views, Varna Vyavastha is a natural and affords greater opportunity than any other arrangement for the self-realization and social harmony. So Rameshwar Rai argued that Gandhi believed in caste system or Varnashram Dharma because he believed it's provide such environment, such atmosphere, natural atmosphere where one can realize a self-realization. And we know repeatedly Gandhi says what he is looking for is a self-realization, to see God face to face, and in different ways he said he is looking, his whole life is for the self-realization. But we know Gandhi was a man of practice. If he believed that the caste system or Varnashram Dharma provide the best possible means for the self-realization, definitely he would live his life according to the basic principle of the caste system or Varnashram. And he should also have done experiment in his ashram to live according to those basic principles. But we know Gandhi did not live according to the basic principle of the caste system. On the other hand, he actually rejected all those basic principles. That's why Rameshwar Rai's justification also seems to be problematic. So now that the second group of scholars who believe that Gandhi's view evolve over a period of time, and it's very natural that every human being evolve over a period of time. But there was a radical changes in his views or not? We need to look at. So one of such scholar, uh, Bipin Chandra also says, I quote him. Bipin Chandra says, many quotes Gandhi's statement on the caste system, interdining, religious dining and marriages, and so on, from his early writing. But the fact is that while his basic commitment to human values, truth, and non-violence remain constant, His opinion on all these and other issues were underwent changes, sometimes drastic and invariably in more radical direction. So, do there was a radical changes in Gandhi's practice? So, this is actually this is a very common opinion among the scholars, and they draw it from Gandhi's own writing because Gandhi also very explicitly says. I quote what Gandhi says, and he says on many occasions. I quote him. He says, "In my search after truth, I have discarded many ideas and learned many new things. And therefore, when anybody find an inconsistency between any two writing of mine, if he has still faith in my sanctity, he will do well to choose the later of the two on the same subject." So what Gandhi also suggesting that he's involved over a period of time, and he discarded many ideas and learned many new things, and therefore his present position should be taken as his final position. But actually, it is a half quote. The whole quote, if you read the whole quote, it is a entirely different different picture appears. I think I have no time, but I will rush and finish it very quickly. When Gandhi says, if you look at this whole quote, what Gandhi says, actually Gandhi rejected that there is any inconsistency. And what he says, I quote. Gandhi says, I quote, "Whenever I have been obliged to compare my writing, even of 50 years ago, with the latest, I have discovered no inconsistency between the two." This is what Gandhi says in the same paragraph. But friends who observe inconsistency will do well to take the meaning that my latest writing may yield, unless or of course they prefer the old one. He's telling that you can take the old one also and new one because there is no inconsistency. And he's also suggesting, but before making the choice, they should try to see if there is not an underlying and abiding consistency between the two seemingly inconsistency. And he's suggesting that one should try to look at abiding consistency between seemingly inconsistency in his writing. And when we look at his practice, it's become evident that Gandhi is right in when rejecting that there was no major or radical inconsistency and change, because his practice remained almost throughout his life very consistent. From the very childhood, he rejected most of the rules and regulation of the caste system. He never practiced any rules and regulations related to the caste system, and he built the ashram, which actually reject and destroy annihilate all the values of the caste system. So on that note, it seems that the idea Gandhi evolved radically seems to be probable. Then what is the proper ways to understand? So there are also a small group of scholars which suggested that Gandhi's defense of caste in his writing was a matter of strategy. I quote, uh, I quote Judith Brown. She writes, though Gandhi had rejected the whole idea for earlier and insisted and worked against it, even in South Africa, once home in India, having tasted the temper of public opinion, he was aware of the strength of the Hindu orthodoxy, and he took care not to equate his campaign against untouchability with the question of caste as a whole. So Judith Brown is suggesting that it was a part of Gandhi's strategy to appreciate some aspect of the caste system, because he find that the orthodox, a good section of the orthodox Hindu were not yet ready for the radical reform. So he thought he should go in his stages, in different stages, and gradually to educate the masses for his process of annihilation of caste system. So at least from his practices and his life in the ashram and engaging with the different scholars, it appears that Gandhi was kind of a reformer of caste system, not not an Orthodox Hindu who believed in the caste system and who wanted to establish Hindu society on the basis of the caste system. So this I will stop, and I would request if there are some questions, I would like to engage. Thank you, Shashwat, for
Thank,
this.
thank, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for what was an eye-opener of a lecture, and thank you so much for your efficacious remarks on a very complex topic. We shall now take a few questions. Uh, the first question the first question comes from Manas, and the question is something like this: some scholars sought to connect Gandhi's position on caste with his views on race, while in South Africa, in both matters, scholars say Gandhi stood for the privileged minority. What are your views? Thank you.
No, that's there are what I say. Oh, Manas, question appeared to me. Okay. Yes, Manas, my study says you are partially correct that it's true that for us for quite a long period of time, even in India, we can say that Gandhi stood basically for a small group of minority. It appears to be, and his all movement were also supported financially in many different ways by the small section of the privileged section of the society. But I won't say that I will engage with those scholars who says that Gandhi was casteist and racist. Therefore, he actually worked his movement was supported, and he worked with only a small privileged section of the society. He was actually there is a whole research paper I have written, and it is published in EPW. You can look at. My reading says Gandhi was also not not racist, and he was also definitely not casteist, as I argued in this lecture. We need to think about to in that context where he was working, and the possibility of the argument and reform he can propose, and the necessities or a requirement which is needed for running such campaign, and look at their own benefits who will support to them. So what I wanted to say, we need to look Gandhi in that particular context and look at those kind of possibilities was available for him, and what I will say, the resources was available to him. What were the more other options were available to him? What I believe, the kind of resources and the kind of people he need to work with them, I think that was what we could say, that was part of his what is the, I'm not getting the English word. It's the it is a majburi thing. He has to work with those people, the kind of reform he wanted to take with them. But he could also work to bring the substantial changes in the larger section of the society. So what I just in one line I would conclude my answer that you are partly, my study says your or those scholars' observation are partly correct. So, Shashwat, you can take another question.
Yes, thank you, sir. We have one more question from Manas. He has a quote and then a question. So the quote is from Gandhi. It's in 1921. To destroy the caste system and adopt Western European social system means Hindus must give up the principle of hereditary occupation. And Manas's question is, like, summarizing for the sake of brevity, is if I mean, was he actually a defender of the caste system, or he thought of the caste as a way of resisting the Western social system, quote unquote?
Can you repeat the last line?
Yes, I'll in fact show the question on the screen itself.
Acha.
One wonders, uh,
Please read.
yes, so one wonders if he is more opposed to Western social system, even if some good values could be adopted, or was he a true defender of the caste system?
See, Manas, very good. You asking very fundamental question, and I'm very happy. Actually, Gandhi. See, what I would say, Gandhi was actually a defender of autonomy of an individual, apart from certain other values, equality, justice, and brotherhood, fraternity. And actually, he tried to oppose all kind of domination and exploitation which limit the autonomy of individual. All kind. He saw the well, centralized state with fear, heavy industrialization, and blind modernization with fear, because he thought because it will limit or destroy the autonomy of individual. And the same way, he actually, my argument is that he opposed the caste system because he find that this tradition ways of arranging society is also destroy the autonomy of individual, because in caste system you don't have the freedom to respect your own decisions in different field. So my argument is that he was neither in favor of the caste system nor in the modern civilization, or nor opposed to the modern civilization, or favor of the caste system. Actually, he was trying to defend the autonomy of individual from his internal and external assault. So this is what my answers to the to Marx. Check.
Thank you, sir. Shikha has a question. Uh, Thank you, Professor Kolge. Could you throw some light on Gandhi's later day views on marriage as the most important social institution for undoing caste hierarchy?
Okay, thank you, Shika. I think this was one of the important points which I missed actually. So when you look at Gandhi's writing or Gandhi's practice, so as I said, so at least it's not very wise to say in the later part of his life, Gandhi accepted that intercaste marriage is one of the important tool for annihilating the caste differences and hierarchy. When you look at his practice, and actually he's one of the very important quote, I think I don't have right now, but I will paraphrase it, where Gandhi's son's marriage is performing in one of his ashram. I think it's in 1927, and Gandhi making a speech on the occasion of this marriage, and he's saying that the outside people may find difficult to initiate such radical reform, so it is the duty of the ashramites that they should take lead in this ashram. And actually, celibacy actually practiced in Gandhi's ashram, but such marriage were performed. And in 1945, one Dalit man actually performed the rituals, not exactly the rituals, the ceremonies of marriage, which is taking place between a Brahman boy and a Dalit girl. So Gandhi also realized that the intercaste marriage is one of the important method to annihilate the caste differences and hierarchy. And Ambedkar very openly said this, accepted it in his annihilation of the caste system. Unless you mix this blood, it is difficult to annihilate the caste system. But for Gandhi, the question is that to say it is a one thing, but to make people believe and accept those principles is another thing. So he was going gradually and stages, and he strongly, as what I have argued in my book, he was quite aware of the fact that the intercaste marriage can play a very important part in eliminating the caste system, and it required a rigorous propaganda, and he was in gradually shifting in this direction. And as some of you may know, After 45, actually, he rejected to give blessing to any marriage which is not taking place, in which one party is not done it. Very, very categorically, he said these things to many occasions, and actually, he refused to give his blessing to his own private secretary, or whom he called his one of beloved son, Mahadev Desai's son, Narayan Desai. Gandhi did not participate in his Mahadev Desai's son's marriage, because he said there is no merit in it. You are marrying in the same caste, and he did not actually give his blessing to this marriage. So he has in his own ways to promote intercaste marriage, and he accepted that it is one of the important methods to abolish the caste system. Shashank, I think.
Yes. We have one more question.
Yes.
So the person has said, "Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. How did Baba Sahib Ambedkar enrich Gandhi's views of the caste problem?"
Okay, there is definitely, as those who there are the number of scholars who said that uh, the radical shift in Gandhi, actually after 1930, even the intercaste marriage and another, is due to his encounter with Ambedkar and the challenge what Ambedkar continuously imposing and pushing on him. And you may know when Harijan Sevaksan was after 32 fast, Gandhi went on the Harijan Yatra, and then uh, he he actually formed an organization called Harijan Sevaksan, and Ambedkar was also invited to be a member of the trustee, and actually Ambedkar proposed very radical uh, steps that Harijan Sevaksan should take, but the other board members were not agree, and Gandhi also accepted that it is not time for such to, to accept those radical suggestions. So, but yes, there is what it says. Sorry, the Ambedkar did play a very important role in radicalizing Gandhi's thoughts, or maybe coming him more openly or vocal in social fields and political field. Uh, and we can say before Ambedkar, Gandhi was going very slow, and so slowly to spread his reform for the removal of untouchability, and with encounter with his encounter with Ambedkar actually speed up his reform movement, and definitely there was some radical element which were due to the Ambedkar's criticism. Okay, Shashwat, I think.
Thank you so much, sir. I think with that question, we have also arrived at a very important moment in today's discussion, because when we think of anti-caste movement in India, and when we look at the history of the movement, we tend to think of Gandhi and Ambedkar as people who are perhaps opposed to each other. They might have respectfully disagreed. They might have had different methods. They might have taken different approach. We all know that both of them were invested in something very, very important, and both would perhaps have wanted social inequality to progressively disappear from this country. Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for patiently taking the questions.
This
And
I want to make one point.
sure, please, sir.
That's I yes I see I have written another paper where I says no, they were different and we should not actually try to resolve their differences. So they are. This is the way to say that to the process of elimination of caste can have a different different methods. So this is a very great monster, and you have to fight on the different front. And so they were the different. They have a different ways to understand the problem of the caste system and to address the caste system to annihilate the caste system. There are some merit and demerits in the both methods or origins in the both approaches. So we should not try to reconcile their differences. We should emphasize that they were different, and then we can learn from their differences. So if you try to reconcile their differences, then it creates another kind of problem. Okay, that's required another. Thank you, Shastra. Sorry. Okay, now.
Thank you so much, sir, for the talk and taking the questions. I would urge all our viewers to please read this very important book which Dr. Kolge has authored. It will it's of course an eye opener, but it also tells put things in perspective, tells us about Gandhi's view, and with a lot of lucidity, with a lot of clarity. Thank you everyone for joining us today. The next lecture in the webinar series uh, will be broadcast on the 20th of this month at 10 in the morning. Professor Vinay Lal of University of California will be speaking on Gandhi, Tolstoy, and the question of radical nonviolence. I once again thank our esteemed speaker, Dr. Nishikant Kolge of CSDS Delhi, for spending his precious time for us. I thank all our viewers. Thank you so much. We'll meet you soon.
Thank you, sir.